Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Broyans Farm. I'm starting off today here in the greenhouse. The dogs are outside barking for some reason. Here in the seed room, our field onions are finally starting to come up. Not all of them yet, but sporadically here and there throughout the tray. I think sometimes a lot of the reason why they won't all come up at one time is just because that seed could be a little deeper or could have a little more vermiculite or potting soil on top of the seed. So I've got to finish up seeding our red onions for the field, get them done finally, because they should have been in about a week ago. And then I'm kind of just gonna tinker around the greenhouse today, maybe spacing pots, maybe helping mom transplant some stuff, who knows, but there is a lot to be done. A lot of our seedlings now are at the point to where they can be transplanted. These peppers are ready to go. The marigolds here are ready to go. These sunflowers are ready. A lot of this stuff is pretty small yet. The lupines could probably go. Tomatoes. And how we'll check is we just pull them out. And if you can get the whole cell out and it's nicely rooted, it's ready to go. These are actually hanging basket tomatoes. That's why they're started already, because usually this would be way too early for like tomatoes you're gonna plant in the ground. Zinnias are ready to go. And still, she has a lot of planters and I think maybe hanging baskets to go yet. So we got a lot of work to do. The problem is we are running out of room. But I think we can soon start hanging these baskets up and getting them out of our way. It is extremely windy out today, and for some reason the temperatures yesterday were like 60. Today they're dropping to like a high of like 32, and then tomorrow they're going back up to 60 again. So we just gotta really be careful with our doors and how far we have them open, because one minute it gets to be like 90, then the sun goes away and the wind blows, and then it's like getting down into the lower 60s, which is obviously getting too cold for these plants. So luckily, I'm gonna be here all day long, or somebody's gonna be here all day to monitor that. I just wet my seeding soil here. I'll get this mixed around. It's kind of important that this has some moisture to it when seeding in these seed trays, because if I don't have enough, when I go to like put my dibble board in and press these down to where I can get the seed to sit down in there, it either goes way down or doesn't pack down at all. Then the soil doesn't want to take on as much water because it doesn't have any moisture in it to start with. So it's just good to have your soil a little bit wet and have some moisture in it before you plant into it. And then of course when you water it, it gets these like little chunks in it, so you gotta really mix it up good. So again, we're using these 392 cell trays. This is a tag from last time I seeded, but I realized I didn't have enough seed. So I just crossed it out and wrote the date on there instead of printing a whole new tag. You never want to pack the soil down in there, but you want to make sure the soil is all the way to the bottom of that cell. So usually I'll just kind of give it a little bit of a shake like that. It gets the dirt off the edges, along with settles the dirt down in there a little bit better, but without packing it. And that's it right there, done. Yesterday was a very rainy, cloudy, not really cold, but again, windy day. And my parents actually went to a meeting down in Lancaster for Griffin. I think Shady Maple it's called. And they give you a lunch along with going to a couple of meetings on basically just diseases to look out for, better growing practices, all that kind of stuff. And we had to go down, or they had to go down and get moss hanging baskets as well. So there was a couple of reasons why they went down, but anyway, they were down there about all day long, so I stayed here in the greenhouse to just basically space pots. And so now this is what I worked on yesterday. All of our zonal geraniums are now spaced with waters in them. You can see the little lead water in there. And what happens is, when we hook up the hose to this, we have the header line that runs down the center of the table. The water will shoot out all of those lines, and we can water all of these pots at one time. And then, you know, we just have lines throughout, and then that'll water this whole section. And so I did, I don't know how many pots exactly, from there all the way down to here, which is all of our zonals. And then I started spacing our Gerbers, but I didn't quite finish them. It's really nice to get our spacing done now, because what happens is not only the pot gets too big to where it's hard to get the water to go inside where the dirt is and get it watered properly, but also when you have all of them to do and the greenhouse is getting very hot and very dry, it's nice to just be able to hook that water up and water, you know, 50, 60, 100 pots at a time, and then move on to the next step. And so basically now we're gonna do this with every single one of our 4.5-inch pots for sure around number 1 here. Number 1 is the only greenhouse that we have these water lines on tables just specifically for the pots. And so all of those sun patience, and then we have New Guinean patience, all the sweet potato vine. We have the verbena. I actually started spacing the vinca vine, all the rosemary, all that stuff's gonna get spaced here in the next couple days. But the grasses we really don't worry about too much, just because they're in 6.5-inch pots and they're really not quite as bad to water as the 4.5 inches are. So basically you get the point, there's a lot to do. It's amazing how our greenhouses aren't really that big compared to some other growers that we know of, and still me and Mom can basically work in here just about every single day and never run out of things to do, whether it's filling pots, watering, transplanting, seeding, whatever it may be, there's always something to do. Some of you guys might be getting bored with the whole seeding process, but I like to keep showing it, even if I don't do the whole process, just so that the new viewers get to see how it's exactly done. So here we go. We have our seed tray we just filled up. We're gonna call this our dibble board. This is just another flat. This right here is actually called the dibble board. That's hard plastic. It's made for making indentions in the soil. We didn't want to pay $300 to $400 for a new one, so we just thought, well, for the onions that we're planting, we're just gonna use the same plastic trays that we're planting into. So I'll set that down in there, kind of judge how hard I need to press for that seed. These aren't pelleted, so they don't need to go real deep. Nice and even. And that looks real good. We'll then bring it over here to our tray holder. I'll get it set down in nice. And we're ready to begin seeding. Here's our vacuum seeder, made by Easy Seeder. This is the vacuum. We have the hose that comes to the tray. We'll turn that on. Well, actually, we'll turn it on here. This is where I can adjust how much vacuum I have. I'll put my seeds onto here. They'll suck to every single hole if that's what I want. And then I'll flip it over on top of this tray, turn the vacuum off, let them drop down in, and it's done. So just like before, whoa. These are treated seeds. I don't know if you can see that. Little tiny green baby things. Here we go. Let the vacuum in, I guess. So now, because these seeds aren't pelleted, we have a lot of doubles on here, and we definitely don't want doubles for our onions. And so now it's gonna take me a little bit longer, but I'm gonna go through and pick off those double seeds. And that's how it's done right there. Now that seeding's done, I'm gonna move on to spacing again. Mom's still not here. She must have had a lot of running to do for the farm market. And so I'm gonna work on spacing the verbena. It's funny how different things just seem to do better in different parts of the greenhouses according to the air circulation that it gets. And so we kind of put the same things in the same spots every single year around the greenhouse on the same tables. That way we know they're gonna do good just like they did the year before. So this section here is where we always put the verbena, and that's what I'm gonna do right now. At the end of each year, we always assume that there's some water laying in the line. So what we'll do is we open every single dripper up, and then we'll put it down so that way the water can drain out. But now, when I wanna start here, I pull them all back out, lay them right across. That way, I don't have to fight with them when I have the pots in place. So I'll pull these out right down the whole line. I won't pull the back ones out just because I don't really need to. There's 3 on this side and 2, well, that one actually has 3 for some reason, but there's usually only 2 on the back side. I don't know why this line seems to have 3. Of course, now that I'm videoing, that'll have that kind of problem. But anyway, now what I'll do is that they're out, and I'll start spacing them. We'll put, since there's 3 lines, we'll put 3 in a row. We'll start one line off right here against the pipe, put an even gap, just like that. And the next one, we'll stay away from the pipe, kind of like in between these two. And we'll just keep repeating that all the way down the row. We don't want it to be too close to this plastic, or when it gets hot and these start to touch the plastic because they get bigger, that'll actually burn the plant. And so we gotta be careful with that. That's why there's usually only two. We'll just do two, 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 and keep staggering. Well, I'm still working on spacing pots. Mom is working on putting liners in her, are these called coconut baskets? Cocoa baskets. Kind of feels like the outer shell of a coconut. And so obviously this isn't gonna hold any kind of water. And so she's putting these plastic liners in them and then cutting them so that way obviously the ugly plastic isn't gonna hang out all over the sides. Takes a lot more time. You can get some baskets already pre-made with the liners in them, but I guess she didn't do that this year.
Come with them for some reason.
Well, last year they were green too. This year they're...
Well, last year they were moss. I couldn't get moss this year, so we're using cocoa.
Which is what we always used before. I just think it's kind of a nuisance and it takes a long time.
I agree, but...
These ones already came with it in it, right?
Yeah, those did.
See, that's what it looks like. And then once the plant obviously bushes out, you won't see any of that plastic. Then she'll fill it with dirt right here. Then she's bringing them over. We're running out of room, like I said. So she's got this little section now she's working in. But she's got some calibracopa and some sweet potato vine. Here's the verbena that I did earlier. Got them done. I just got finished with the black sweet potato vine over in the corner there. I don't really have room to finish off the Gerber daisies, so they're just kind of sitting there. But I did get some of the sun patience done. So then once she fills the basket, well, before she fills the basket, she has to poke holes in that liner because you do want the water to drain out.
Just in the bottom.
Yeah. You don't want the whole thing to just drain, but you do need some water to drain out or it'll sit way too wet and the plants will just rot. I would say probably by Monday we'll be opening up the second greenhouse, just because we don't even have room to set trays of plants on when we're done transplanting. And also I think possibly my Graham Huffman and my Pat Broyan are gonna be coming out like they do every other year to help transplant now, because we're gonna have a lot and I don't think me and Mom can handle it all. Actually, I know we can't handle it all. So we just finished up today. It's going on about 4:30 and I'm starting to clean up now, just finalize everything. Today is the last day of February, and so I made all my trays, put tags on them for tomorrow, dated them, because I'm obviously not gonna do that tonight. So they're ready to go. That'll be in the next video. Basically, the routine every night. Make sure the heat's on. We'll set our alarm system here. That way, in case anything goes wrong throughout the night, it'll go off and let us know. I already started putting the plastic on. I got it on one corner here. I gotta do the rest of it. The onions came up really good today. We're gonna cover them one more night, and then tomorrow we're actually probably gonna pull them out. And that's because they've basically gone through the germinating process now. Most of them are up. If they are not up, they're probably already germinated within the soil. They just gotta come up out of the soil. And they also like it a little bit cooler. And so we gotta get them out, and I gotta start seeding other stuff to get them going. That's what I'm calling it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.